Hello, everyone, and welcome to Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. I'm your host, retired NYPD Sergeant Bill Cannon, a 27-year veteran of the NYPD. Today, we have a case that's from Livingston, Texas, which is outside of Houston, which is unfortunately a missing case. And there's the little girl there. And she's been missing since Thursday, which would have been February 15th at 6:30 or 6:30 a.m. in the morning, Livingston, Texas time. So this is going on the sixth day, and these are such tragic cases. And when we look into this case, it's no less tragic because they already have a person of interest in this case. And here's the individual on the screen. And his name is Don Stephen McDougal. And apparently he had been living in a trailer behind the home of Audrii Cunningham's family, a friend of her father's, of Audrei's father's. And this individual, Don Stephen McDougal, has an extensive criminal history. And currently, he's in jail on an unrelated charge, so they're holding him there. And initially, he was cooperative, and then apparently, he clammed up. But perhaps they had enough evidence to direct them to a location inside Livingston State Park, which is apparently near the child's residence. As on the missing flyer here, she's age 11, 4 foot 1 inches tall, 75 pounds, blonde hair, blue eyes. She was last seen wearing a black hoodie with a red Hello Kitty bag with her. So I believe they found that bag also. I mean, this is just as tragic as it gets. And when I read, there's an organization called EquuSearch, which is a nonprofit that is an amazing organization that searches for missing people, mostly missing children, but they'll also search for adults. And they have on their website that missing Audrii Cunningham, 11-year-old Audrii Cunningham, was last seen at approximately, they're saying 07 a.m. on February 15th near the 100 block of Lakeside Drive in Livingston, Texas. Audrii was last seen wearing black pants, black hoodie with white lettering, and black high-top tennis shoes. Audrii was also carrying a bright red Hello Kitty-style backpack at the time of her reported disappearance. And again, if you've seen her, we have a number right here that you could call. Actually, it's not on that flyer. I had it in the comments. This is, these cases are just so horrific. Here's the telephone number. If you have any information, please contact the Polk County Sheriff's Office at 936-327-6810 or Texas EquuSearch at 281-309-9500. There's something actually somewhat more disturbing on the Facebook site of EquuSearch, and this apparently, maybe I shouldn't put it out there, but just realize that they are searching the water, which is not a great indication, that not a hopeful sign that they're searching the water. And obviously EquuSearch, which is extremely experienced in this, uses sonar and has done this so many times across the country. I can't say enough about EquuSearch. There's Texas EquuSearch, which is run by a gentleman named Tim Miller, and there's Midwest EquuSearch that's run by a guy named Dave Rader, and I've had contact with Dave Rader, who's an unbelievable human being. And he works for Tim Miller, Tim Miller's got to be the same. Just an incredible organization, and they're helping out in this search right now. And we're going to get back to this, but you're entering true crime from a police perspective, the off-the-cuff zone. You're entering the police off-the-cuff zone.
There has to be some common sense.
Yes, sir. They have the car stopped at 10th and Ranch Michael by there.
We still don't know who pulled the trigger.
You know, in these instances, in these tragic instances, we're going, of course, on the sixth day right now. That little Audrii Cunningham has been missing. Is there a possibility she's still alive? There always is. We always hope and pray that that is the outcome. But when this many days has passed by, and the fact that they do have this criminal in custody as a person of interest, they use that language, that he's a person of interest. That's a bit disturbing to all of us that have watched these cases before, all of us that have seen these missing person cases turn into homicides. And we hope and pray that that's not the case in this. But there's a distinct possibility based on the fact that we're in the sixth day that little Audrey's been missing. I'm going to play a little bit of the press conference right now.
Byron Lyons and Polk County District Attorney Shelley Sitton. I want to say that investigators are following active leads based on tips and evidence that we have gathered. The videos submitted to investigators by the community have been very helpful. We're looking for and asking the public's help for additional video on FM 3126 that shows the highway. This video would have been on Thursday, February 15th, between 6:30 a.m. and 8 a.m. So again, that's video from FM 3126 on Thursday, February 15th, between 6:30 a.m. and 8 a.m. that shows the highway. I also want to announce the Polk County Crime Stoppers reward has been increased to $10,000 for information leading to the arrest of the person responsible for Audrey's disappearance. We are asking the public, based on the evidence that we have been getting right now, to stay away from Scenic Loop FM 3277 unless you have a need to be there. That is a potential point of interest in this investigation. We've had a lot of people driving down there. Please stay away. Let the investigators do what they are doing and our volunteers that they are doing so that we can bring Audrey home. We also want to say that we're thankful for the Polk County District Attorney's Office for their continued legal advice as they provide that to investigators in this continued search for Audrey. The investigators have given McDougal, who was arrested Friday on an unrelated charge, several opportunities to cooperate, and we remain hopeful that he will begin helping in this case. Now, we also want to address some rumors that have been circulating. McDougal is not required to register as a sex offender. We would refer you to the various counties that prosecuted McDougal for inquiries regarding his criminal history. And we also want to say that McDougal resides in a camper behind the residence where Audrey lives with her father, grandparents, and other family. The family does have a relationship with McDougal. And with that, I want to turn it over to Polk County Sheriff Byron Lyons for some remarks for him before we open it up for questions.
Good afternoon. Since Audrey was reported missing, we have been working with investigators and volunteers, doing everything we can to bring Audrey home. Unfortunately, I've had bronchitis, and it has impacted my ability to speak. So that is why I want to say first, thank you to the Department of Public Safety and to the FBI for assisting me with the social media and my media briefings. I also want to take a moment to thank all the investigators and the volunteers and members of the community who are working to bring Audrii home. The outpouring of support from the tips and from the videos and the donations of food and water has just been inspiring. As a community, as a county, as a state and a nation, the search for Audrii has brought out some of the most exceptional people that I have come to know. I have been in contact with the family.
You know, it's amazing with tragedy like this, there is a good part of it, and that's the hearts of people that come forward to help, and they want to help, and they will help, and people donating water, donating food, donating money to this, and that is definitely heartfelt and warming. But this is such a tragic incident,
and they want everybody to know that they thank you, and they appreciate all the prayers and how you've kept Audrii and them in your hearts, and they just ask that you continue to pray for them and Audrei's being able to bring her home. And I'd like to say thank you to everyone who has helped in this case. Any some questions?
Well, the sheriff's going to take some questions from the press. You know, the question that I'm hearing from everyone in the chat is, why did they allow this guy to be around their daughter? And apparently he had driven her to school before on other occasions. There's the picture of him. Don Stephen McDougal, you know, a friend of the father, you know. Many times, you know, and I'll say this many times, trouble is brought to your doorstep because perhaps you don't vet your friends and you don't see who they really are. Allowing this guy, I mean, there are all kinds of signs that this guy was not a good guy, you know, many signs. They're going to ask some questions here.
He was supposed to be taken to the dropping off at the bus stop, and we do feel at this point that he was the last person who seen Audrii. There has been information found that there were some occasions that he did drop her off at the bus stop, or even take her to school if she missed the bus.
So he's done that before.
McDougal has not confessed. He has been talking with some of the investigators, but at this point in time, he has not confessed.
That scene of interest that you're asking the public to stay away from, can you expand on that? What was found there? What led you there? Why are you asking the public to stay away?
You know, and that's kind of why, one of the reasons that we're asking for the videos. We're trying to piece together a timeline of where he's been and the travel that he took, the roadways that he took. So this area is just one that's in particular that we can say that we know that he was in. And so we're making sure that we do extensive search of those areas. But the problem is that when we have a lot, and I know that people are concerned and people want to help, but a lot of time when we bring too many people into an area, it hinders our efforts in being able to try to find and locate evidence.
Do you guys know if that was Audrei's backpack that was found near the dam?
We feel strongly today that backpack that was found is a high probability that it's going to be Audrei's.
There's a lot of water around her home.
This is a thing called the criminal investigation, and that South Lake suspected. Could you expand on that? What crime is being investigated specifically, and could you expand on how South Lake suspected?
Okay, yes, we do feel as though we are investigating a criminal investigation, and at this point in time, as we conduct our investigation, we are not leaving out or adding in any just charges. We are investigating the evidence as if we find any, and then we'll let that be determined, you know, once we get all the evidence put together on what charges, if any, will be filed.
What was 7 charge, 08 conviction for enticing a minor with intent to commit a felony out of Brazoria County. The case information publicly accessible over the weekend and on a holiday is very limited on that. Was that felony intended a sex crime?
And be honest with you, I don't know. I can't answer that right now because it's in another county. The only thing that I've been able to find out that it was not something that they were able to require him to register for as a sex offender.
Have law enforcement taken McDougal to the dam or the Trinity River since he's been arrested?
There have been some occasions where, on one occasion where we have taken McDougal, that he agreed to work with us and has taken us to certain locations.
She lives around water. Have you checked the water around her house? I was going to ask about the email that was sent to parents on Friday, letting them know about the disappearance and letting them know and asking them to provide videos, because they were talking about. That email says that it asks parents to look for videos starting at 3 a.m. on Thursday. Is there a possibility that Audrii Cunningham could have disappeared sooner, before the 7 a.m., which was the time that she was reported?
No. And see, one of the things in our investigation, when we conduct investigation, we want to make sure that we try to capture a good timeline. So even if we're looking at a projected time, say if it's 7, we still want to go to back up, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, because we want to know exactly what the individual or suspects may have been doing up until that point. Someone asked about water around the house.
Around the house. Has that area been searched? Okay.
That was the first area on the night that she was reported missing. Volunteers came together with law enforcement. That was the first area to subdivision search.
Yeah, so sure, just to make sure I understand properly. So she didn't go missing before 7 a.m. So she didn't.
No.
She didn't go missing.
No.
Before 7.
No, let me take that.
6:45.
6:45 is when we felt like she went missing.
Do you believe that Audrii is still alive?
I'm hoping and praying that she's still alive. I am not giving up hope that we'll be able to bring Audrii home. So, yes, I am hoping that she yet is still alive. And we're going to work.
All the, and I hate to be, not optimistic about this, but all the indicators, and this sheriff is great. I think he's really answering more questions than he has to. But he said one thing that was, to me, a red flag and something that's just disturbing, but he told the truth, is that, yes, this is a criminal investigation, and, you can read into that. You can look into that. What does that mean? Texas EquuSearch right now is searching the water in this state park. So, around the lakeside, lakeshore area near the Lake Livingston Park, that's where they're searching. Here's an overview. There's a aerial photo of the area that they're searching, and this is, I believe, near where they found her backpack or her bag. So all of those things are indications that a camo backpack she had, but I think they found some of her property there. And, this guy, this criminal here, let's just call him a criminal, Don Stephen McDougal. It's like he was semi-cooperative, but not to the point where he was telling the police what happened. It's clear the police know that he drove her. He drove her, or she was in his car. They're looking for video along the route, I believe, that goes into that Livingston, lakeshore area near the Lake Livingston State Park. That's why they're asking people to have any video, and they have his car. Here's his car right there. On the screen, we see his car, which is a 2003 Suburban, Chevy Suburban. So, I mean, look at the car. It looks like it's pretty dirty. What was it driving through? Was it driving on a dirt road? There's other indicators. Could they perhaps match up his tire prints to where this car has been? some of the scientific things we talk about all the time in missing persons. How about the GPS in his vehicle, in his vehicle's computer? That takes a little bit of time, but they can get that back and show where he went. Now, as I said, it seemed like he was a little bit cooperative to a certain extent, and then he pulled it back and was uncooperative after that. The other thing is they don't have forever to interview him. Once he's arraigned on his other charges, which he's being held in jail with, he's assigned an attorney. And after that, they're not going to be able to talk to him anymore because the attorney will advise him not to speak to the police. So I would think he must have been arraigned by now. I would think that he's no longer going to be cooperative, if he ever was that cooperative to begin with. Dave, Karen Solak from the chat, Dave from EquuSearch thinks it could have been him throwing people off by leaving the backpack there. That's a possibility. But it strikes me, and I love Dave Rader, great guy. I've worked with him before. And I love EquuSearch. But this guy, this criminal, picture up on screen, Don Stephen McDougal, doesn't seem like a mastermind to me. Doesn't seem like he's a very smart guy. So could that be that he did leave that backpack there to throw off the police? But he's already been named of a person of interest. I don't, and that, look, I'm not going to doubt Dave. Again, great guy. He's done a lot of these searches before, but as I said, this criminal is no mastermind.
Work just as hard to make sure that we do everything that we can to try to bring her home.
Sheriff, is there any other person of interest in this case?
Okay, we've got a couple of questions at a time. Right here.
Do you believe cooperative? Is he speaking with investigators? Is he not talking?
When you say is he being cooperative, I think that Mr. McDougal, he is what he's doing on occasions. He will, and I use that word cooperate lightly, but he is somewhat, working and talking with the investigators. But we are very cautious on the information that he's giving.
Are you guys able
Do you have any other persons of interest in this case?
I will say this, that there are, at this point, Mr. McDougal is our main person of interest, but we are not ruling out anyone else who may be or involved, may not be involved. We are not just honing in on just this one individual. We're making sure that we're covering all stones.
And do you anticipate charges being filed in connection to this case anytime soon?
I anticipate that if the evidence presents itself that proves that Mr. McDougal has committed an offense or crime, that charges will be filed in him in Polk County. So in speaking with the Rangers, we're just asking them, hey, take us to where in any places that you think or where you may have been. And so he has done that on one occasion.
I think you hinted at the answer to this, but we've had a lot of community members approaching us saying they want to volunteer to help search. Is there a place for them in this search, or do you really need them to step back and let you guys do your job?
Okay, and kind of like I addressed in my opening statement, is that I am so grateful for those who have came out and volunteered, raised their hands to want to participate. And yes, the volunteers have been great and have been very valuable to us. But one of the things that we have to do is that we have to limit, and we have to make sure that we don't overdo it. Because remember, we are yet still, while we try to bring Audrii home, we are yet still making sure that if there's evidence or if there's anything that we need to capture or anything that we need to be able to retain, we want to make sure that we don't have so many people that we damage or destroy evidence at the time. So the way we are today, we had the volunteers meeting over at Tigerville's Park. And then as we needed them, we would send an officer over to get those folks and then take them into an area to help search.
Folks, even though the police, they do have a person of interest, they still have to go through procedure. And one of the first things you do on a missing person is obviously you take the report from the person who is reporting this person missing, but you also search the residence of the missing person. And the other thing is you have to talk to all family members. Is there any other people involved in this? You can't just go in tunnel vision. And look, I'm not saying they don't have the right guy right now. I think they probably do, but you still cannot get tunnel visioned. You have to make sure that you check, cross every T and dot every I, because there could be a twist. There could be something that you didn't expect that leads you somewhere else, because this guy's a devious individual, and, some people in the chat have said that, how did the family allow this guy around their 11-year-old daughter? That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that right now. What I would probably say is that, well, maybe I'll keep that to myself, but perhaps he's the friend of the father. He's the friend of Audrey's father. Perhaps he's just like, birds of a feather. And I don't want to paint a picture, but would you hang out with this guy? Criminal history and everything, and let him live in your yard? I think that's it's a little bit. That's the question I'm asking, and the folks that are listening to this, this guy not only probably talks the talk, but he looks the look too. He looks like he has been through the system. He has been part of the criminal justice system probably for his whole life, and allowing him to live in your backyard. I question that. And that'll be part of this investigation also. Once they do find little Audrey, and hopefully, again, we hope and pray that she's found alive. But you heard the sheriff say this is a criminal investigation. So they know that something nefarious has happened. Now, the most important thing is to find little Audrey. And that's the most important thing. And going back to the press conference with the sheriff.
At this time right now, we don't want to share locations that he's taken us to, other than to say that there are multiple places of interest that we have gone to and have made searches, and I'm sure before this day is out, we'll be searching other locations.
Because he did not find something, you provide more context on why he's taking you those places. What is he saying when he takes you there? Just, oh, this is where we drove, or?
And really, when it comes down,
the question and again, this is probably where this sheriff should shut the media down. She's asking, when you take Don Stephen McDougal out to locations he's showing you, what is he saying? At that point, I think he's got to shut the media down and just say, listen, that's under investigation, and we don't feel free to release that information right now. I mean, what do they want? What does the media want him to do? Outline the entire case, give them every secret thing that they know that the media doesn't know?
It wasn't there with those officers, and so I can't answer to exactly what was just said, other than these are just places that he instructed them to go.
Has McDougal made a claim that he drops her off at the school bus?
No.
Was something recovered, Sheriff, from those locations? Is that where the backpack was found, or other items were found?
The only thing at this point in time right now that I can speak to for sure is going to be that backpack.
So do you think he's giving you false leads?
And that's the thing, is that we have to just continue to work all the leads that he's presenting to us. Whether or not they're false or not, it depends upon how it works out and how the investigators are able to put those pieces together.
Are you guys able to come with cell phone records, maybe, like where he could be?
We are working with every tool made available to us, whether it be cell phone, whether it be video, which has been an awesome tool for us. We are using every tool made available to us to try to piece together a window or a picture of where he may have gone.
I'm sorry, just to clarify, is he acknowledging that she never actually made it to the bus stop?
I'm sorry, repeat that.
Just to clarify, is he acknowledging that she never actually made it to the bus stop?
At this time right now, he has not acknowledged that, whether or not she's made it, whether or not he dropped her off or she made it to the bus stop or not.
Has he admitted to leaving the house with her?
Yes.
So, to law enforcement, again, this guy was the last person seen with her. He admits that she was in his car. He admits taking her to wherever he told the police he took her, and that's where it ends. So, again, we don't want to assume, but this case, I don't see a happy ending to this. It's and the sheriff said, of course, they're using all possible leads they can: cell phone technology, GPS technology, videos. That's why they're asking the public, if you saw this car along the route, send us your videos. Where did the car go? As we saw also on the screen when I showed you his car, it's quite dirty and muddy. And I don't know if driving to the back of this property, if he has to go through dirt and mud, but that the dirt and on his car could be an indication that he drove the vehicle off road. So all of those things have to be looked into. We don't know how big of a social media guy he is, if at all, but his cell phone absolutely becomes evidence in this. Who he interacts with, what he may have told friends or other people. All of those things are extremely important. These are horrific cases, tragic cases when they involve a little 11-year-old girl that's innocent. And to me, and there's a lot of you guys in the chat have said, why did the family allow this criminal to live on their property? And again, I don't know the answers. I don't know where Audrey's father met this guy, but potentially, that old expression, birds of a feather flock together. There's a lot of truth to that, especially in law enforcement and dealing with people like this. That old expression, birds of a feather flock together, sometimes become true. Folks, this is Police Off the Cuff, real crime stories. If you like real crime or true crime from a police perspective, then you're in the right location. And if you're not subscribed to us, go on our YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, ring that bell, like it, share us with your friends and family. We'd appreciate that. And if you want to contribute to us financially, we have a Patreon with 3 different levels. And we also have a YouTube channel memberships with, count them, 5 different levels. And we appreciate all our Patreon subscribers as well as all our YouTube channel members. They help to keep this this channel going. And also, someone just reminded me in the chat, hit that like button. If you're in the chat today, I know this is an early show, but we're giving this from our perspective as we continue. And people are asking, is there any new news? Well, the search is continuing, and right now, no. But this is an ongoing investigation, and these type of cases, move very slowly. And sometimes, you guys in the chat and the press, you want instant gratification, and we're not always going to get that. And I think this sheriff is being quite open and telling a lot of things that maybe other sheriffs might not.
Can you clarify that location where you're telling people to stay away from? It's called the Scenic Route. What's the name of it, where it is?
It's off of the Scenic Loop. It's the, well, let me say this. It's in the Scenic Loop area there near Tigersville Park. If I say on national television, don't go to this specific location, kind of defeat my purpose. But I am saying that there are officers that's in the area who are instructing people or directing people away from those areas. Please work with those officers if they ask you to turn around or they ask you to go into another location while they would search those areas.
Sheriff, you mentioned that he admits to leaving with Audrii Cunningham, and now we know she's missing. What else do you need to charge him for a crime? The child is nowhere to be found.
Well, our thing is, and the district attorneys here, one of the things that we must do is that we must not jump to conclusions. We want to make sure that we take all the evidence that we have collected. Yes, he may have been the last person with her, and yes, she is missing at this time. But we want to make sure that whatever evidence that we collect and that we place on an affidavit today is going to be something that's going to hold up in the court later. It does us no good to prematurely charge him now, and then 3-4 months from now it get tossed out of court because we were moving too fast. So I ask you, please understand as we work carefully through this, because Audrii deserves this. She deserves us taking our time. She deserves us making sure that we do it right. She deserves to have her voice to be heard.
So, you know, the sheriff is really outlining pretty much everything that they have right now. And, you know, these cases, and we never want to hear it, but they take time. You know, it's not something that that is just going to it's going to happen immediately, that they're going to get the answers. And, you know, what everyone is, of course, waiting for is, you know, and you hate to say it, is to find Audrii, you know, and will that give the term closure?
We do that, and we do
I
it
don't
the
know.
right way.
Sure. One of the cell phone techniques is called geo-tracking. One of the cell phone techniques is called geo-tracking. Are y'all using geo-tracking?
I will say this, we are using every tool made available to us to be able to work cell phones and videos and video to be able to try to track his movements that morning.
Has any other person of interest come to fruition and have they been eliminated?
There have been other persons that we have certainly have looked at, and at this point in time, we're not ruling anyone out. You know, at this point, we are still, it's an active investigation, and everybody's going to be looked at. Everybody's going to be maintained until we can definitely say for sure, either you are or you're not a party to this investigation.
What are the details about his aggravated assault charge that he's currently in jail for? Can you expand on that?
The details, what I can go to it on that was, it was an aggravated assault that took place August, I believe, and that in that investigation, there were some.
What they're talking about is what Don Stephen McDougal is currently under arrest for. He's being held in jail on another charge. And I think that the sheriff's being very open-minded. I wouldn't, if I was standing, I wouldn't tell the press. I'd say it's under investigation, you know, because they don't need to know all these things, but they want to, of course.
During that investigation, there was some circumstances that took place that would not allow us to be able to arrest him at that time. And he would not cooperate, would not basically lawyer it up, would not talk with the investigators. But on, I think Saturday, Friday night, whichever night he was arrested, he did make the statement to that offense, which at that point in time he was arrested for.
What was the offense? What is he accused of doing?
It was an aggravated assault. He assaulted another individual.
Male or female?
Male.
We've also heard that he has, obviously a violent criminal history. There's also rumors out there that he has affiliation with the Aryan Brotherhood. Are you able to confirm that?
We have heard those same things, and we've been told that there is an affiliation with the Aryan Brotherhood. Those are some things that we will come back after we're able to get Audrii located, and we will tie those things down to prove whether or not he's affiliated or not.
Have you guys doing an extensive search for any evidence in the house, the RV, the home itself?
Those things have been done. Yes, ma'am.
Two more questions.
Have you talked with Audrei's dad or family members?
Yes.
Are they cooperating?
So questions, the question was, have you talked to Audrei's dad or family members? And I believe that the sheriff and this investigation is thorough. They also have, of course, cooperation from the FBI. And a reporter asked a question about something. He used an incorrect term, but geofencing, it's called. I think he called it geo-tracking, which is fine. But geofencing is a technique whereby it's a highly technical thing where in a very specific geographical area, they can search every single electronic device that was being used at a specific time and track that device. And it's very complex. It's an unbelievable tool that law enforcement has. And usually someone that does that type of work is like the FBI or the state police. It's highly technical. It's expensive. The equipment is expensive, but it's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable tool for law enforcement to have. Some of the other things, of course, that they're doing, tips. You know, if you live in the New York City area, you always hear that term, 1-800-577-TIPS, if you know anything in regards to this investigation. And tips can come in handy. Maybe this mutt, I use my old police terms, this mutt that you see on the screen, Don Stephen McDougal, maybe he told somebody what he did, you know, a tip like that. Maybe someone knows him and he said something, or he made his intentions known at a previous time. So all of those things are so important. Tips. And again, the sheriff had asked for video. Anyone that potentially had video of the perpetrator or the alleged, the person of interest. I always said I hate that term. The person of interest driving this car, and did they have any video of it? Schmitty, thank you for the $2 super sticker. Sergeant Bill equals the epitome of police. Onward. Schmitty, thank you so much. Really appreciate that. This car in itself is a crime scene, you know. This vehicle is the last vehicle that Audrey was inside of. And then we don't know what happened to her after that. And again, this mutt has only cooperated to a certain level. And then he's frozen up, you know. He's frozen up. You know, I would like to know, and so many more things, specifically, you know, what was the relationship of Audrey's father with this guy? How did he let this friend, this criminal live in their yard, or it was the grandparents' yard, and then the wife. What was her relationship? How did she know this guy? You know, and how did they? And we all question this. How did they allow this little girl around this savage? You know, to the fact that they allowed him drive her to the bus stop on previous occasions. You know, unbelievable, right? 11-year-old Audrii Cunningham, last seen wearing black pants, a black hoodie, and had a Hello Kitty backpack. Again, if you have information, call 936-372-6810. And there's a picture of the Mope's car. Don Stephen McDougal. He's a scary looking guy. You look at that picture right there, you know. Apparently, you know, they're saying, although it's not important to this investigation specifically, he's a member of the Aryan Brotherhood. And they, you know, the sheriff wouldn't confirm that, but apparently he's got some tattoos that sort of indicate that. There's on the screen, the Amber Alert. So again, the search is so important, and they got Texas EquuSearch on the search with them right now. It's Tim Miller from Texas EquuSearch, and I know Dave Rader. I never had the pleasure of meeting Tim Miller. I believe I was on a podcast one time with Tim Miller, perhaps on Duty Run's show, and a selfless man. In fact, a man I believe that was inspired to start EquuSearch because I believe he lost his daughter, and he's tunnel visioned on helping families with missing children. IMKK, was he texting offering money for sex before or after she was missing? IMKK, I don't have that information right now. Look, IMKK, this guy is as bad as it gets, you know. He's a bad guy. There's no doubt, you know. So what he was doing before or after, it's important in regards to the investigation. But the most important thing right now, obviously, is to find little Audrey. That's the most important thing. Rosemary J, member for 4 months. Thank you very much. Much respect and love. Well, thank you, Rosemary, for being a member of the Police Off the Cuff, being a channel member. We really appreciate you. Venus Gal, I think he's cooperating other than to throw them off point elsewhere or explain why we were somewhere if cited. I doubt other than that, he's offering anything true. Yeah, you know, something. That's why Venus Gal, the police aren't stupid. That's why they check all different types of things. You vet information. One of the best ways to find out if someone is lying or telling the truth is to go into your interview with them knowing things that you know are true and ask them very simple questions. And if they lie about things that you know are true, then you know that they're a liar. And then you challenge them with those lies. You challenge them and ask them, well, why are you telling me that when I know specifically it's not true? So those are some of the techniques in interview and interrogation that can be used. Venus Gal, sheriff didn't deny it, but then with Delphi and the crazy Odin claims you have to be careful, I suppose, these days to not deny a connection. Well, you know, again, we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. And in the way, one of the things that the police always do is they do something, and this guy, Don Stephen McDougal, is a person of interest that they put it. So one of the things we do, and I use my own NYPD terminology, we do a perpology on this guy. And what does that mean? Well, that's the study of the perp. Let's look into his background. Where does he live? We know he lives in a trailer on their property. Where does he work? Where has he been? Let's get his cell phone number. We need a search warrant to go into his cell phone. Let's search his cell phone. Now we have his vehicle. Full crime scene. Full crime scene on his vehicle. And guess what? You can't just make someone's vehicle a crime scene. Again, you need a search warrant. Search the GPS in his vehicle, the computer. Let's find out specifically where that car went to, where it was. Obviously, the inside of the car is a crime scene. All of these things. I want to speak to every single person in that family. The mother, the father, the grandparents, comings and goings. And obviously the police know things that we don't know. They know that on numerous occasions, Don McDougal drove her to the bus stop on previous occasions. So there was a level of trust that the family had of this guy. And how could you... IMKK, if he was texting that before, maybe he had money like that and selling her might not be a factor. If after maybe he sold her and got that money. IMKK, I think, you know, we're getting way ahead of ourselves. The most important thing, again, they have all that information and they will act upon all the electronic information, all the physical information, all the evidence that they have. And this sheriff seems to be on top of it. And that's what we got to care about. We can't jump ahead of ourselves. And they're specifically searching in an area that they have some evidence that potentially she could have been in that area prior to going missing.
Police announced they have a person of interest in custody and a suspect foul play. Here's ABC's Allison Kosick.
This morning, major developments in the search for 11-year-old Audrii Cunningham, reported missing last week north of Houston.
There's not words for it.
Authorities have arrested 42-year-old Don Stephen McDougal on a separate assault charge, saying he's a person of interest in the search for Audrii. They say he's the roommate of Audrii's father and has an extensive criminal history, including a conviction for enticing a minor in 2008.
We are hopeful that we
It
can
doesn't.
bring Audrii home alive, and that's what we are absolutely working for right now. But based on the evidence that we've got, we understand that foul play is a factor as well.
Audrii's mother says her daughter was last seen.
So she was last seen, obviously.
Around 7 a.m. last Thursday, when she was supposed to catch her school bus, not far from the home she shares with her father.
She was allegedly dropped off at her bus stop. And later on, we come to learn that she never even made it on the bus.
Police are now searching for this 2003 blue Chevy Suburban, saying it belonged
So that's the perpetrator's
to
car. That
McDougal. Investigators also found Audrii's backpack near a local dam and say other items were found, but they're not elaborating.
You're broken. You're mad. You're lost. You're empty. And right now, I'm empty.
Despite his prior conviction for enticing a minor, our Houston
so he has prior.
station KTRK says Don Stephen McDougal was not required to register as a sex offender. A $7,000 reward is offered for information on Audrii's whereabouts.
So it's so tragic, this case. You know, it's like if we can learn anything from it, and I know most of you guys out there in the true crime community, you'd never let a person like this around your children, you know. But you can't always control things outside your home, you know. But this is disturbing because this guy was a friend of the father, and he's allowed to be around their daughter. Here he is. There's a picture of him, you know. Don Stephen McDougal, heavy-duty criminal history, and you're allowing him around your 11-year-old daughter. And again, I have lots of questions that perhaps will be answered at another time. But I'm suspect that the family allowed this guy to drive her to the bus stop on other occasions. So very scary, you know, very scary. And, you know, the innocence, the little girl, 11-year-old innocent girl, pulled into these horrific situations. There's pictures, or I'm showing pictures of Audrii on the screen as I speak to you guys. Just a horrific situation. So they're asking for video. Anyone that has video, potentially of that park or of that vehicle traveling, and they want you to submit that video. It's video, cell phone video has been invaluable in many investigations in many different cases across this world. You know, it basically solved the Boston Marathon bombing. If you remember that, the Tsarnaev brothers, that they actually had them on video putting down their backpack that had the bomb inside the backpack. So it's not far-fetched for the police to ask you out there, anyone that has potential video of this vehicle traveling at that time on Tuesday the 15th. It would be about 6:30, 6:45 in the morning to 700. Maybe a longer time period than that, a bigger window. The police would have a much tighter window. The police want that. They want that information. They want that potential evidence. They've asked for volunteers, people to help search, and apparently it's been overwhelming. So many people have agreed and have volunteered to search. You heard the sheriff was, that's the one positive you get out of things like this, the hearts of people that aren't involved in this, volunteering to find this little girl, to help find this little girl. Angie, where was grandma? Where was her dad, grandfather? I don't have all the answers to that. I'm sure the police know all of the answers to that. We have to realize the call to report her missing occurred pretty damn quickly, you know. So I think they reported her missing at 7:15. So it happened pretty damn fast. Marnie Mitchell and from the chat. Oh, and I sure know. I give her rides. He took it upon himself to stalk her, groom her. He said to the mom that Audrii can keep a secret, right? He told her not to dad or grandma. I don't know. The message on typed was a little bit spotty. Deborah Mullins, when is the last time a reliable person saw this little girl, not the suspect or the grandma? I'm sure, again, I don't have that information. The police have that information. Just realize, though, that she was reported missing very quickly. So it wasn't like they sat on that information. There's the picture of the little girl on the screen. There's been no confession from this guy. All right. Will he find it in his heart to tell the police what happened? Or is he going to continue just to give them information that perhaps sends them on a wild goose chase, sends them on in an area that he knows that Audrii isn't, that he knows where she is, you know? And I hate to be so pessimistic, but this is day 6, you know, day 6. And we see who was the last person with this little girl. So it's heartbreaking. Here's even a worse picture, you know. I think anyone that would see that picture and know that their little girl was last seen with that guy would have deep problems. Leanie, they didn't report her missing until 5:30 p.m., which is 10 hours later. Well, I'm sorry then. I had the wrong information. I thought the sheriff said Cheryl Murdoch, she was reported at 7 p.m. that got a call from school at 1 p.m. that she wasn't in school. I don't feel that. No, that's not quick, Cheryl. And thank you for updating me that didn't have that information. And immediately they went to grab him. And initially, he was somewhat cooperative. But Callie, can they get a search warrant for his phone at this point, or would he have to consent? No, they can absolutely get a search warrant, Callie. Search warrants are based on probable cause. And probable cause, the definition are facts and circumstances that would allow a reasonable person to believe that a crime has been committed and that the person in question committed the crime. So there is enough probable cause, and a search warrant has the same level that you must be able to articulate to a judge in order to get a search warrant. And if you presented the facts that we have today to a judge and requested a search warrant for his phone, I don't know a judge that would turn down a search warrant under those circumstances. So yes, they can. Some of you guys are coming up with theories in the chat that, and I'd rather not jump to theories, but look, let's just suffice it to say that the search continues. The search will continue to go on, and the police will use every investigative tool and every investigative person at their disposal in order to find this little girl. And that is the most important. Just put something on the screen. as we wait, of course, the results of the search. What's going on with this search?
Her disappearance might be a red Hello Kitty backpack she was supposed to carry to school with her last week. The sheriff believes a family friend who lives on the same property as Audrey in Livingston may have been the last to see her. Fox 26's Shelby Rose is live alongside the Trinity River, where law enforcement is already out this morning. Shelby.
Yes, good morning. We have already seen a boat, Texas EquuSearch, go down this road, which leads to the Trinity River. They were doing the same thing yesterday, using sonar technology to see what they could see down in the river. But there are also boots on the ground. Authorities are honing in on specific locations in Polk County, but would not disclose to us what those exactly are, saying that they do want to keep the integrity of this ongoing investigation.
So, of course, they want to keep
We
the
also know that child's
integrity.
backpack that you spoke about is strongly believed to be Audrey's. It was found over the weekend, which they are considering a key piece of evidence. And this person of interest, Don McDougal, is also cooperating to some extent with investigators, telling them he left the house with Audrey on the day she went missing. Officials say McDougal was a friend of Audrey's father and was allowed to live in a trailer behind their house and also take her to school from time to time. McDougal is in custody at the Polk County Jail, but on an unrelated assault charge. Texas DPS says he confessed to assaulting a man following an argument. And while he does admit to being with Audrey the morning of her disappearance, the Polk County Sheriff says charges have.
So, of course, there's no charges yet, but they use that term person of interest, which is
Because they don't want to jump to conclusions.
We want to make sure that we take all the evidence that we have collected. Yes, he may have been the last person with her, and yes, she is missing at this time. But we want to make for sure that whatever evidence that we collect and that we place on an affidavit today is going to be something that's going to hold.
so again, the press wants to know all the information, but the police are still digging for information. They're still collecting evidence. Some of the things that take a lot of time, can take a lot of time, are cell phone data, and everyone wants to know about his cell phone data, because potentially it will tell investigators where he was. The GPS on the phone, the pinging of cell sites sometimes can be quite exact, but that can take a while to come back. Doesn't always happen. But of course, these cases, things get expedited because they're so important, and time is such an important factor. Earlier on, one of the news media people asked about some geofencing, which I told you is that technology that in a geographic area, using GPS and electronic technology, they can pinpoint all of the cell phones, laptops, electronic devices being used in a specific area, and text messages, all of those things. So everything, every possible bit of technology, every possible bit of evidence will be brought to bear. So yeah, this, unfortunately, Jean Ann Simmons, the grandmother, this is from the chat, the grandmother had custody, not the dad or the mother. The dad and Monster both lived with the grandmother, dad's mother. Wow. It gets worse all the time, right? It's really, Pauline Buckles, there's one charge made against him that is related. I'm not aware of that. I think he's being held on a previous charge, an assault charge. That's what's keeping him in jail. Whether he will, usually once you're arraigned, Malibu Surfer, he's a hard 42, absolutely. Usually once you've been arraigned and you have an attorney assigned to you, the end of cooperation, it's ended. There's no more cooperation because an attorney is going to, Venus Gal, he's been called Don Stephen McDougal. All right, so he's got two names, like a lot of people use two names, Don Stephen McDougal. Look, everyone in the chat, we're talking about, have they used dogs? Have they used sonar? Have they used radar? Have they used, aerial photography. They're using everything. With Texas Equus involved, they have some of the best searches on this planet. And that's what's going on. So they have a very specific area they're searching. And this is from, this little flyer is from Texas EquuSearch. Missing child, Audrii Cunningham, age 11, 4'1", weight 75 pounds, blonde hair, blue eyes. Last seen wearing a black hoodie with a red, yellow kitty bag. Missing since 7 a.m. on Thursday, February 15th in Livingston, Texas, around the Lakeshore area near the Lake Livingston State Park. So this was also the areas that they're searching. Texas Equus was seen on this, was viewed on the scene. So we know we have some of the best searches there are out there. And look, if you are a person of faith and you want to say a prayer for Audrii, I would recommend doing that at this point. It's really a horrific situation. Polythene Pam from the chat. Law enforcement confirmed that Stephen McDougal lived in a trailer behind the house. Yes, and one of the routine searches also would be to another search warrant, search his trailer. How do we know Audrey's not in his trailer? You know, we don't. So, as I said, in every missing person case, the first place that the police search according to procedure is the home of the missing person. So that also gets searched. And usually in a situation like this, that will be searched as a consent, but there seems to be foul play in this case. So might they have gotten a warrant also for the grandmother's house? Leanie one, Crest Audrey's law to make sure anyone has ever even enticed a child should register as a sex, no matter what state or county. Leanie, there are some parameters in regards to forcing someone or requiring someone, let me put it that way, requiring someone to register as an offender, as a sex offender. And the parameters are made by each state's laws, that are passed. And he apparently, this guy, Stephen McDougal, whatever you want to call him, he wasn't required to register. So again, Cheryl, my heart breaks for this poor baby. No matter what's happened, she must be or have been terrified. Yeah, our heart breaks for anyone that has to go through something like this. And also not just the person, of course, that's the worst, but the family. The family is heartbroken, and having to deal with this is horrific. Folks, if you're looking for a great attorney in the New York metropolitan area, then Joe Murray is your man. Joe's a retired NYPD police officer and a fantastic defense attorney. You can reach Joe on his cell phone at 718-514-3855. Email him at joe@jmurray-law.com. Or go on his website, jmurray-law.com. Not only is Joe a fantastic defense attorney, but also a huge supporter of the Police Off the Cuff podcast. There's Joe on the screen. Joe was also, used to be, down the road in the past, a frequent guest on the Police Off the Cuff podcast. But maybe because of this commercial, he's so busy that he doesn't have time anymore to appear on the podcast. So, Malibu Surfer, Tim Miller from Texas EquuSearch, you're absolutely right. He's reputed to be one of the best at searching. Absolutely, you're absolutely correct. Angie, does anyone know if Audrey got on or off the school bus on February 14th? I don't know that answer to that. I believe that we obviously know that she went missing on the 15th. So she was in school the day before, and she went missing on on February 15th, you know, and that's what they're focusing on. Let me put the picture up on the screen again. There's a picture on the screen of Audrii Cunningham. I had in the also in the chat, I had a number that you could call, and that's important. That's important to have that number. If you you can call their tips line, or you can call Texas EquuSearch, or you can call the police of the local police. If you have any information whatsoever regarding Audrii's disappearance, you can contact the Polk County Sheriff's Office at 936-327-6810 or Texas EquuSearch at 281-309-9500. And I'll put that right in the chat. So you have that number, and I'll put that up on the screen here. So if you have any information whatsoever concerning Audrii's disappearance, please contact the Polk County Sheriff's Office at 936-327-6810 or Texas EquuSearch at 281-309-9500. So important. Leanie, thank you so much for the $4 super sticker. Very much appreciated. Peggy Willis, do you think they will let the dad talk to him in the jail? The dad should be home today or tomorrow. Peggy, I think not. No, I don't think they would, because by doing that, it could compromise the investigation. All right. So although you might think that's a good idea, I would say it's not a good idea. Again, for that reason, that it could compromise the investigation. Deanna May from the chat was her dad. GMA and McDougal had claimed mom was trying to kidnap her. What if they put her on a plane after school on the 14th? Is it her grandma from the Philippines? You know, these are all questions that, as part of law enforcement's investigation, they will include things and they will eliminate things. And that's why you do a thorough investigation. You don't get tunnel visioned just to believe one specific thing happened. And you question everyone that's at all even remotely involved, and you build a likelihood of what may have occurred. Lisa Rosh from the chat. Hi, Bill. Thank you for covering this. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for listening. Some of you new people in the chat, if you're not subscribed to Police Off the Cuff, just go on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, ring that bell, and hit the like button, and share us with your friends and family. Venus Gal from the chat, Texas Equus may be good, but odds of finding anyone missing, even with some info and evidence, is still a needle in a haystack type of odds. Yes, Venus Gal, but they do it all the time. So they do find the needle in the haystack. Malibu Surfer, don't guess his car was spotted on any red light traffic cameras. Well, that's part of the investigation. And that's part of the investigation that can take time. They don't get all of this information immediately. Even when the police ask for things, it could take a lot of time, or more time than immediately. No information does anyone get immediately. All right. So we're looking at the park there, Livingston State Park, where the search apparently of the lake has, been going on for a while. This is the individual, Don Stephen McDougal, who's the person of interest. They love to use that expression, person of interest. There you are right there. A little scary. There's more things that'll come out as this case proceeds, as it goes along. And we all pray and hope, you know, for good information to come back, you know, not, you know, of course we want her to be found and we want her to be found alive, but can we count on that after this amount of time has gone by? I don't know. There's a map on the screen of, you can see the map on the screen.
Point of interest. And this morning, Ugochi Iloka joins us live right in that area. Ugochi, we're learning more about the person of interest in this case and how.
So I'm having a little bit of freezing up problems here right now with this. So I'll take it off the screen. There we go. Look, we know this. We know that she knows this person of interest, and he's under arrest. He's in jail right now. He's being held on an unrelated charge. We know that he's a friend of the father. We know he's a criminal, and there's other information coming out. Perhaps he's a part of the Aryan Brotherhood. Tattoos of that nature on his body. Deanna May from the chat, I have hope. That's why my hypothetical of them probably sending her off somewhere, but the poor girl must be so scared. Deanna May, well, thank you for your comments. T.D. Lewis, Texas EquuSearch is the best in the country. It was founded by Tim Miller years ago. His own daughter went missing. T.D. Lewis, I alluded to that earlier on in the show. I know Dave Rader from Midwest EquuSearch, and I met on a podcast. I met Tim Miller a couple of years ago. So I know all about those people, fantastic people. They do amazing work. Leany One at Faith, that's what they said. He left 6:50 a.m. and didn't return until after 11 a.m. So scary. He had that much time alone with her. It is scary. It's horrific. It's just unbelievable. You're right. LEO makes me so cross that people allow their kids around evil people like this. Yeah, you know, lots of kids across this country are around people like that because for whatever reason they don't have the supervision. They don't have the attention of competent adults, and unfortunately, they're around a guy like this, or allowed to be around a guy like this, you know. Just outrageous, you know, outrageous. And, you know, that's Don Stephen McDougal, the person of interest who's currently in jail on an unrelated charge. That's one good thing. He's not going anywhere, right? He's not leaving anytime soon, right? And as the police conduct their investigation, Darcy Miller, I think he is playing games with law enforcement, and they know it. Yeah, you're absolutely. He could be. He absolutely could be. And again, I allude to the fact that that's why law enforcement has to do a very good investigation. Cross the T's, dot their I's, and look, we've seen these cases before. And one thing that we all realize and we know is that it takes a lot of patience. And we don't get immediate results. We can't just walk away from this. We've got to keep digging. Have people keep calling in tips. Have people keep volunteering to be part of the search team. So yeah, Lana Banana. I live in Texas. So many are going missing. Just an hour ago, received an Amber Alert in Galveston, Texas. Yeah, I mean, it is a problem. Jem, can you explain the criminal charges of the alleged person of interest to us? Well, apparently they had an open case on this guy for an assault that they had found out about, and they must have had an arrest warrant. And when they put his name in the system, you can put his name in the computer, the arrest warrant popped. So realizing that he was a person of interest in this case, but they did not have enough evidence to charge him with a crime right now, they used that crime to arrest him. And we, as we say in law enforcement, put him on ice for a while where he's not going anywhere while you investigate this case. And the potential that he's also going to be at some future date arrested for this case is pretty high. He could be arrested at any time for this case once they get the evidence that they need. They have what's called circumstantial evidence right now. And circumstantial evidence simply means that from which inferences are drawn. And one of the strongest inferences here, of course, is that he was the last person seen with Audrey, the last person. So does that mean he did anything? No, but it's pretty strong circumstantial evidence that from which inferences are drawn. So we draw an inference. He was the last person to be seen with her. Marlena Cantu from the chat, law enforcement has his vehicle. Absolutely, Marlena. Very important piece of evidence, both forensically and also the vehicle. The computer can perhaps tell us exactly where that car was, you know, and tire prints. Will the tire prints be somewhere near where perhaps they find Audrey, which would give us more evidence against this guy, right? But now, as I said, they got him on ice. You know, he's inside, he's not going anywhere, so they can not take their time, but do a methodical, cross their T's, dot their I's investigation to make sure they do everything right in this case. Lisa Rush from the chat, having him right in the house, terrible. Well, apparently, Lisa, he lived in the yard in a trailer home with Audrey's father, who was his roommate. So it's horrific. It's a horrific situation. Well, you know, guys, all the evidence the police have, they're not going to reveal that to everyone. You know, they're going to keep that close to the vest, as we say in the biz. Connie from the chat agreed, Sergeant Bill. Too many children being watched by people who have no clue how to raise children properly. That's for sure. Schmitty, you know, that's a good question. Wonder how her father and this guy met. Well, you know, could be that they met in jail. You know, great place to meet someone, right? Jem, was he ever convicted of a crime against children? He has a history of that. Whether he was convicted, he has an arrest for something nefarious of that nature. So, Deanna May, can I keep him held just for attempted kidnapping on a mother with those messages, at least to keep him in jail until we find her? Deanna May, I think they're going to keep him in jail on the crime that he's currently being charged with. And as they build this case and build a stronger case, they're going to keep him in. I don't think any judge is going to let him out right now. Lieutenant Peter Pranzo, good afternoon, Bill and Police Off the Cuff chat friends. Thank you, Lieutenant Pete. Welcome, always welcome, Pete and Richella Pranzo. Great man, former NYPD lieutenant. Good to see him this early in the day. I love how you guys in the chat all know each other, and it's sort of heartwarming that you speak to each other in the chat. Well, folks, that's all I have for you today. Basically, I'm going to keep following this case. This case is heartbreaking whenever you have a young kid kidnapped, missing, and the circumstances are such, like we see in this case, disturbing. It's like you don't expect, unfortunately, a great outcome to this case. T.D. Lewis from the chat, his bond is $500,000. He's not made bail yet. I doubt he can get out. I don't think he's getting out, T.D. Lewis. Faith from the chat, I agree. Very scary. I think he was preying on Audrii, in my opinion, for some time gaining her trust. Allegedly, he said in those messages, Audrii said he is her favorite person and won't tell. Absolutely. That's disturbing, huh? Darcy Miller from the chat, I really hope TikTokers and YouTubers stay away from the areas where the searches are happening. They could ruin evidence. Absolutely. Venus Gal from the chat, I continue to pray, but we'll be honest and say they have trouble hoping in this one. Yeah, it is. It's a bit scary. Sunset Gazing from the chat, these people don't care anything about anyone. They only care about what they want. He's playing cat and mouse with law enforcement. Laws without morals are in vain. Benjamin Franklin, Audrey. All right, folks, I want to, at this point, thank everyone for coming by today. We're going to keep covering this case as there's new information comes forward. Let's hope that they find Audrey. Let's hope that they find her alive. And again, I'm Bill Cannon from Police Off the Cuff. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'll see you very soon. Have a great day, everyone, and God bless.
One episode just ain't enough.